Giyu, I'm glad you could make it here on such short notice. Of course, Master. You said it was urgent, so I got here as quickly as I could.
Giyu Tomioka stood before Master Ubuyashiki. He had been summoned urgently and had arrived as quickly as he could.
Giyu, I have something to request of you.
The master spoke, remaining calm in his demeanor.
I want you to travel to Kori's home to check on her family.
What? Why would you need me to do that? Isn't Kori on a mission right now?
She had sent a message by Crow last night saying she had abandoned her mission. She wouldn't have sent that message unless something was wrong.
Even so, why would you need me to go check on her family if she had gone there herself?
Because she had sent another crow a few hours later, saying the front door of her home had been left wide open.
Giyu gasped in surprise, his heart beginning to race as his mind raced with all of the possibilities that could have happened. He pushed his thoughts aside and asked,
When did you receive that message?
I received it around midnight. I summoned you as soon as I heard, since I know you and Kori are close.
I see. I'm assuming you haven't heard anything since.
That is correct. Please head to her home immediately to see if everything is alright. I'd hate to assume the worst, but I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Giyu nodded in understanding.
I see. I'll make my way there. I'll make it there by sunrise to give a report.
Giyu walked out, making his way to Kori's home, hoping she and her family were all right. He followed his crow for hours, making his way through the thick forest. The sun had just started to break through the trees when Giyu finally spotted the family home. Inspecting it from the outside, the only thing that was off was the front door being wide open. He took in a deep breath and stepped foot inside the home. What he saw inside made his heart shatter. It was something he wished he hadn't seen. Giyu stared in horror, seeing the bloody corpses of Kori's parents and twin sister. His heart weighed heavily seeing his friend's family in this condition. He knelt down to check everyone's pulses, going to each person one by one. He started with the father, not feeling any activity from his heart. He then went over to the mother, and again, felt nothing. He finally walked over to Yuki, checking her pulse.
What the?
He muttered, moving his hand to a different location to feel for a pulse, and he felt his heart begin to pound from the sudden rush of adrenaline.
She's still alive.
He had felt her pulse on both wrist and neck, but it was faint. He rushed outside looking for his crow, seeing it resting on a tree branch nearby. He called it over, then spoke in a commanding tone.
Send this message to Master Ubuyashiki immediately. We need the Kakushi here right away. 2 people have been found dead, and Kori's sister Yuki is hanging on by a thread. Have Shinobu prepare a bed at the Butterfly Mansion. Yuki is in a critical condition and needs immediate medical attention.
The crow flew off into the sky towards Ubuyashiki's home. Giyu knew the only thing he could do now was wait for the Kakushi to arrive. He went over to Yuki to inspect her wounds, but noticed something strange about her appearance. Kori had told him she had an identical twin, but something about her hair was slightly different from Kori's. Yuki's hair had an icy blue tint towards the ends. He flipped her onto her back, making sure not to hurt her any further, and noticed there was a strange-looking mark on her face. It looked like she had frostbite covering the left side, but when he brushed his hand over the skin, it was warm to the touch. Giyu thought it was odd, but he could only wait for the Kakushi to arrive. As he waited, he began to search the home for any other signs of life, human or not. Each room was empty, but one of the rooms caught his attention. It looked to be a bedroom, but there were books and ripped pages scattered all across the floor. The door to the bedroom had been broken down, the entire door frame being burst into pieces. He had a feeling this is where all of her books were stored, but due to the mess covering the ground, he assumed the demon that attacked didn't find what they were looking for. He stepped out of the room, looking back at Yuki, who had been breathing shallowly. He looked around the living room and saw something laying in the corner. He walked over and saw Cory's Haori and Nichiren blades laying there. One of the blades had a decent-sized chip, while the other one had been completely snapped in two. The Haori had some blood on it, as well as a few rips. Giyu felt his chest tighten up seeing her things laying in disarray. He picked them up gently, making sure to not damage them any further. He carefully set them on a table that had remained intact and continued to wait by pacing around the outside of the home. An hour had passed and the Kikushi finally arrived. He watched as they took the bodies away with care. They lifted Yuki carefully onto one of the stretchers when Giyu stepped forward.
Take her back to the Butterfly Mansion. Please be careful with her. We don't want her injuries to become worse. I'll be traveling with you since I'll have to speak with her once she regains consciousness.
We understand, Giyu,
one of the Kikushi said.
But what will you need to talk to her about?
I can't say much, but I need to know what happened here last night. She's the only one who will be able to tell us.
Understood. We should be able to return to the Butterfly Mansion by nightfall.
Good. Start heading out. I'll join you in a minute. There is something I need to bring out of the home.
The Kikushi nodded and started to carry the bodies back to the mansion. Giyu walked back into the home, grabbing Cory's things before leaving. He looked back at the house one last time before catching up with the members of the Kikushi. He stayed at the same pace as the people carrying Yuki, but one of them noticed what Giyu was carrying.
Is that Tsunafureku-san's Haori?
They questioned, worry laced in their tone.
It is. Her swords as well. I found them inside while searching the scene.
I see. This is Tsunafureku on the stretcher, yes?
Yes, but not the one you're thinking of. This is her twin sister. Her name is Yuki.
Oh, I didn't know she had a twin. But why would Cory's things be inside if she wasn't in there herself?
Her stuff being inside while her body isn't is concerning. But the only explanation I can think of is that she came in, fought the demon, and the demon took her and...
He hesitated, his voice shaking as he spoke words he wished he didn't have to.
Ate her.
Let's hope that isn't the case. It would be a devastating loss to the Demon Slayer Corps.
Indeed. That's why we need Yuki to wake up. We need to know what happened here.
They spent many hours walking and eventually made it back to the Butterfly Mansion. The Kikushi took Yuki to the medbay for Shinobu to tend to, while Giyu went to go see Ubuyashiki at his mansion. He arrived at the home, knocking on his door, hearing Ubuyashiki speak on the other side. Giyu walked inside, closing the door behind him, standing before Master Ubuyashiki.
What did you discover, Giyu?
I found Cory's parents dead in their home, and her twin sister Yuki hanging onto life by a thread. It's a miracle she's still alive with the injury she sustained.
What all did she endure? You didn't specify what injury she had with your original message.
Judging by what I saw, she had a stab wound from a Nichiren blade on her back, a few broken ribs, as well as a head wound. There was one thing that concerned me, though.
What would that be?
It looked like she had frostbite on the left side of her face, but when I felt her skin, it was warm to the touch.
That is quite odd. Whatever the case is, Yuki is the only person who will be able to tell us everything that happened that night.
I know,
he muttered quietly, looking down at the Haori and Nichiren blades in his hands.
I know you're worried about her, but Yuki should be able to help us figure out what happened.
I know. I hope she wakes up soon,
he said before leaving Ubuyashiki's room. He went back to the Butterfly Mansion, heading to the training grounds, setting the Haori and blades on the bench before pulling out his own blade. He looked at Cory's things, his mind only thinking of her.
Cory, where are you?
he muttered under his breath.
I hope you managed to escape that attack. I don't know what I'd do if you got killed.